Now, I think we can all agree Extreme Rules, the horror show, was a bit of a horror show, to be honest. Especially that main event. Christ knows what that was. So that got me thinking, what are the worst 10 WWE pay-per-views in the last decade? Now, before I start, I must give an honourable mention to Backlash a few years ago, but somehow that doesn't qualify for this list. Just about sums it up, really. But number 10, Breaking Point 2009. We actually quite like the Breaking Point idea, even though it could have been called Submission Sunday, which caused a whole lot of problems, with most of the matches being contested under submission-based rules. However, the execution of it just did not work. Punk vs The Undertaker's weird finish felt wrong. Cena vs Orton was very paint by numbers, and nothing on the rest of the card was worth talking about, including Legacy defeating DX, which sounds odd on its own. Nothing seemed to click in place for WWE on this night. Number 9, Over the Limit 2010. A new pay-per-view, it felt like the expectation was for this show to come bursting out of the gate with immediate success, but it didn't happen. Show and Jack Swagger failed to elevate Jack in the right way. Cena and Batista was incredibly predictable, and the only shining light was Mysterio v Punk. WWE was in a difficult spot, however, and thankfully Nexus was waiting right around the next corner to breathe some life into weekly programming. Also, Edge vs Randy Orton was a tremendous letdown as a result of an injury to Orton. Number 8, SummerSlam 2010. The main event match of Team WWE vs Team Nexus was set up perfectly for the NXT guys to get the upper hand and really kickstart their run at the top of the card. When they lost, however, it felt like the air had been let out of the building as Super Cena reigned supreme. Then you had Big Show squashing Straight Edge Society, Melina and Alicia Fox dragging the Divas Championship down even further, Kane defeating Rey Mysterio in a bout that should have been so much better. Number 7, WrestleMania 27. WrestleMania is supposed to be the showcase of the Immortals, and this Atlanta show really didn't live up to the hype. Taker vs Triple H was the best match of the show, and even was their only third best bout of the Mania trilogy they shared. Whereas on the rest of the card, we had Michael Cole v Jerry Lawler, Woohoo, Edge v Alberto Del Rio, and Miz v Cena, with the end one ending in a concussion to the Orton one. Not even the presence of The Rock saved this. Number 6, Over the Limit 2011. Over the Limit is here again. While the 2012 edition will not be featuring, let it know that there's a very good chance it probably should have. With the evening being kicked off by Ezekiel Jackson getting a DQ win over Sin Cara, botching the finish against Chavo Guerrero, you know you're in for a rough night. This is also where Mason Ryan experiment completely and utterly exposed, with CM Punk losing as a result of that. Orton Christian was good, but nowhere near good enough to save this disaster, capped off by Lawler v Cole in a Kiss My Foot match, and John Cena vs The Miz. Number 5, No Way Out 2012. The return of No Way Out struggled to capture the imagination of the WWE universe, which is hardly surprising when the main event is Cena vs The Big Show in what equated as a house show match with a feel-good ending. Santino Marella vs Ricardo Rodriguez also went down on this card, in addition to a handful of really forgettable encounters. No Way Out's lineage deserved better than this, and even that may be an understatement as WWE continue to hobble through storylines and events with a real lack of grace. Number 4, Survivor Series 2013. None of the traditional Survivor Series matches had any real meaning. Cena v Del Rio was boring, and the main event saw Randy Orton defeat Big Show in one of the worst pay-per-view main events. We also have Mark Henry defeating Ryback in less than 5 minutes. Survivor Series is supposed to be one of the figureheads on the WWE calendar, and this was a very poor representation of that. In fact, poor is putting it nicely. Number 3, TLC 2014. The world title was still absent thanks to Brock Lesnar, meaning that the main event of the show saw Bray Wyatt take on Dean Ambrose in a TLC match. While that sounds pretty exciting, they just weren't able to live up to the hype, with Bray winning courtesy of a malfunction. The rest of the card read it like a standard house show, and that's not what you want to finish off the final pay-per-view of the year, or any pay-per-view. Number 2, Survivor Series 2015. The Brothers of Destruction squashed the Wyatt family and did so because it was Survivor Series, and it was the 25th anniversary of Taker's debut. Oh, and there was also a 5-on-5 Survivor Series elimination match on the card, and it weren't great. The main event saw the conclusion of the tournament used to determine the new World Heavyweight Championship, and if Roman Reigns winning wasn't bad enough, things made even more worse when Sheamus cashed in and won the belt. And number 1, Battleground 2017. On this night, we saw what we can only describe as one of the worst main events in WWE's pay-per-view history. The match was Jinder Mahal versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship in a Punjabi prison. The Great Khali returned in order to help Jinder win, despite the fact the guy can barely walk. Cena also crushed, pun not intended, Rusev in a flag match earlier on that evening, with Nakamura defeating Baron Corbin by DQ instead of a clean match. But anyway guys, that's it, that's our list. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Remember to like, share, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, link in the description below for daily wrestling news, and subscribe to my other channels on the screen right now. That would be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching, peace!